my Tea-spiracy people. I am outside this evening. It is really nice out. Hopefully the wind is not too much. If it becomes too much, I will venture back inside. But it's like super nice out, and I figured, what better way to have a creepy stream than to just be outside, right? So like if you see anything behind me, you can let me know. That would be much appreciated, right? Oh, we have a little alien friend, Miss E. Hi, Miss E. I like your picture. That's adorable. Hello. Hi, everyone. So listen up. You like I know there's a ladder. There's a ladder behind me somewhere, a couple ladders, but hey, you never know when you might need to climb something, right? Look behind you. I know, right? They're already here. So listen. I know a couple of you said that you would like to come on. I know it's really nerve-wracking, like going on a live stream that maybe you've never been on before. Just know that, like, I'm not gonna laugh at you. I'm not gonna make fun of your story. I'm not really like that, right? So I believe you. I believe you, right? Because for those of you who don't know, right, in 1994, I saw an unidentified flying object. I did. I'm going to briefly run through that story for those of you who haven't heard it. And then I'm going to tell you my paranormal experience. And then I'm going to, like, drop the link again. I did put the link, I pinned it, right? So, and I will drop it again if I have to. If anyone wants to, you're a paranormal investigator? Okay, cool. 50 Shades of Bish, you're more than welcome to come on. Since you're the first one I think in here to say you'll come on, I'll probably take you first. But before we do that, right, I do want to just briefly go through my story, okay? So, sorry if you've already heard this story, I apologize, but I feel like a few of you may not have, right? So I'm gonna hold on. What is this? What is this? What is this? It's a Julie Virgo.
You're on mute. Wait a minute.
It's a Julie Virgo. Julie's got her flashlight. I love it.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Why is the sound not working?
I can hear you.
I can't hear you.
Wait a
minute.
I don't know why. That's alright. I love your flashlight, Julie. You're too funny.
I can't hear you. Wait a minute.
Alright, so while Julie figures out her audio. Oh, she left. Okay, bye, Julie. Julie, thanks for showing up with your flashlight. Are you afraid of the dark night, right? With AZ outside. Hopefully there's no mosquitoes, spiders, whatever. So, alright, back in 1994, I was in 4th grade. Okay, I was a 4th grader, and everybody in my class decided to talk about how there was going to be shooting stars, or I can't remember exactly what was going on, but something was going on where everybody wanted to look in the sky that night. I don't know what it was, right? But I do remember it was past my bedtime, okay? And I remember begging my parents to let them, to let me stay awake so I could see what was going on, right? So me and my mom and my aunt and my cousin stood on my front porch, right? And we were out there for a little bit, and then we saw something, right? Something I will never, ever, ever forget as long as I live. We saw an unidentified flying object, and it was yellow, and it defied all gravity laws. It didn't make a noise. It was silent. And it moved left, it moved right, it moved. And people ask me all the time what shape it was, right? That's one thing I really can't be specific about. I do know it was saucer shaped, not to be like the stereotypical, like, oh, it's shaped like a saucer, but it really was. And so what happened was it moved left, it moved right, and then it went behind us, right? And I have, where my parents live, there's lots of woods. There's sand pits, there's huge sand pits. I had a lot of fun out there sledding and stuff when I was younger, right? So this is where things get kind of weird. So basically, we were terrified, right? But we didn't really talk. And I remember my mom turning to me and being like, go get your jacket, we're gonna go out in the woods, right? Which is completely not like her. She's a scaredy cat. And to this day, she doesn't really understand why she had the idea to follow it, because, I mean, let's be honest, it was scary. So we did. We ventured out into the woods to where we saw it go, right? Which is crazy in retrospect. Like, what the hell are we thinking, right? So when we did that, we were all standing there. We saw it again. This time we could see it better, okay? It came down towards us, full speed, right? Right toward, like it was gonna crash into us, right? I screamed. I was the only one that screamed. I think the other people were more in shock, right? So I screamed, and my mom put her hand over my mouth, right? Then I don't really remember if we talked after that, how long we stood there, whatever. My aunt and my cousin had lived behind me, so they were closer to the woods, okay? So they went in their house, we went to our house, and I went right to bed, okay? What I remember next is hearing my mom and my dad outside in the living room talking. And I heard my mom telling my dad everything that we saw. And my dad was like, "You guys are crazy. You didn't see a UFO." He basically was not believing her, right? This made me really upset, right? It made me really upset. I remember laying in my bed being like, "Dad, why aren't you listening? You need to listen. You need to listen because when they come and take me tonight, you're going to need to know where to look." I remember being really upset with my dad. Like, I wasn't even moving in my bed. Me and my mom had just changed my room around and I was closer to the window, okay? And I remember staying so still. I was like, if I move, they're going to know and they're going to come get me. I know too much. I saw too much. They're coming back for me. This is it, right? I was terrified, terrified. And the more I thought about it, the scarier it got, right? And I'm telling you right now, what we saw and what we didn't hear was something that will stay with me forever, right? There's no way that something that large, that fast, that unexplainable could move and not make a noise. No engine, no nothing. That's one thing we all remember. So years later, to make a really, really long story short, years later, not that long ago, less than a year ago, me and my friend Kate started talking about this stuff, right? Kate from Massel Report. And I found a website. It was something.org, and you can go to this .org website and you could type in your location or you could search it by city, by date, by year, right? So I did that. I typed in, I found the 1994, I found my area, and I found a man who worked as a police officer, okay, at the time. He gave the location that was literally right down the street from me, okay, the intersection right down the street from me. And he said, "Look, I'm a professional, like I am, a respected individual in my community, and I want to tell you guys about what I saw." And his description was exactly what we saw, right? So you got to imagine me. Here I am as an adult, because I was in fourth grade when this happened. So here I am as an adult reading a completely a stranger. I don't even know this guy. I do want to kind of track him down and be a weirdo and be like, "Hey, I saw that too." But imagine reading something to confirm, to give you confirmation that, hey, you know what? Someone else that wasn't in my family saw that too, and they are forever changed, and they remember it, and they saw it, and it was just crazy, right? So that happened. It's something I'll never forget. And then here's another story, right? So here's my ghost story, and then I'm gonna let other people talk. Here's Julie. I'm gonna let Julie Spooky come on. So another story from when I was a kid, real quick, right? So my mom has lots of brothers and sisters. We were at a duplex, right? One uncle lived on one side of the duplex, and another uncle lived on the other side of the duplex, okay? And this is another thing that will stay with me forever. So my mom said, "Go next door." It's just a duplex. "Go next door and get or give your uncle a cigarette or get a cigarette." It was something about a cigarette, right? I was supposed to go over there and either get a cigarette or give her a cigarette. I don't know. But I remember walking down the hallway to venture outside, right? And I shit you not, a fluorescent green skeleton appeared before me, and it was terrifying, okay? And I remember it like it was yesterday. I never really spoke about it till I was older. And get this, Julie, you're so funny. And get this, that house was super haunted. They didn't tell me this when I was a kid, obviously, but years later when I talked about it, they would tell me like that every cat they ever had died. There was just a ghost that was just awful. He used to hide things, move things, smash things. Like one night, my mom told me they all got up from the dinner table and the chandelier came crashing down when the last person walked away from the table. It smashed like right in the middle. And that was the same house. So those are two, experiences I have that were unexplained. They both happened when I was younger. And since then, I have not really experienced anything. Oh, mosquitoes. No, no, no mosquitoes. Julie, you're hilarious. You're creeping me out. So, anyways, I have the link pinned. I'm interested in hearing you guys' stories. I do kind of want to give everybody a voice. Like, I can just keep talking, 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 talking. So, like, as much as I would probably end up talking to the same person, I do want to try to give everyone a chance, So, with that in mind, here we go. I mean, Julie, do you have any quick stories that you would like to tell, or?
Yeah, I have quite a few. But I'll tell one, and it's funny you mentioned about being able to look up what you saw in the news, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because we were in Benidorm, Spain, and we went to the beach at night, because it was lovely the beach, but it's like a long beach and it was well lit, and it was sand in the water, and then it had all these like buildings behind us, and it basically, what I mean is, it was so long that see if someone had to walk a way down, you'd still see them, right? So we were about to like dip our feet in the water, but my mum's scared of dark water, right? So my mum wasn't like much of a fan of that, but I forget what age I was. But anyway, so um I wasn't that young. So we seen this, we were all standing there, and we seen this woman walking fast, and she had a white t-shirt on, white shorts, and she was holding her shoes, and
Mm-hmm.
she was walking fast, and we were about to like just go try to like put our feet in the water, and the way she looked at us, it was like a, that look someone gives you where it's like don't go in there kind of look, or
Like a
like she looked
concerning look,
angry, like angry at us, right? So then we get creeped out, and we just all looked at each other, and then she was gone.
what?
Yeah, and we were
So she
like,
was next to you in the water, or
no,
where was she?
she was in front of us, and she walked past us, right?
Wow.
And gave us, looked at us. So like it was, we literally looked at her in the eyes. So then we were like, how did she disappear? We were all so creeped out because you would see her. We were looking in the water. Oh, she couldn't have went in the water. And she just like, it was as if she was there to give us a warning, like don't go in there, right?
Really?
Yeah, right. So then at the airport, this was before like when we were coming home. This was before like I had a mobile phone with internet. So we
How old
paid.
were you?
How old was I, mum? No, I was older than that. I think I was about 13,
Wow.
and so we went to the. You know how you pay for the computers in the airport sometimes, the
Right.
internet. So we went and we looked it up, and there was this article about this woman that died. It just happened like, I think it was a week before, that she was like, she drowned, and it described her street clothes, and it was exactly what that woman was wearing. And basically they didn't know if like she went out and like drowned herself, or it was murdered, or she was murdered or something. And we were all like,
So you saw a picture of her?
no, they
No?
described her clothes.
Oh, they
They,
described her clothes. Oh, okay.
they just found the body.
Wow. Wow. Yeah. So and when you saw her, right, and then you didn't see her anymore, did you just have like this gut instinct, like what we just saw wasn't normal? Like you know that, right? It's unexplainable. You just know, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
we just, because there was no way she could have just disappeared, and like we just knew. And when we found that article, like the hairs at the back of her neck stood up. It was
Yeah, it's scary, right?
yeah.
We have a couple other people here. We have Shermar and we have Craze Conflict. And then I do want to talk to the woman who said she was a paranormal investigator after that. Hey guys, what's up?
I'm going to get
Hey,
off, right, to watch, but
mine is. Go ahead.
I, sorry to
Hi,
interrupt. I'm just
Sherman.
going to get off, right, but I'll be watching in chat.
Okay, thanks for sharing your story, and I know that your mom is there in the background verifying that too, that she saw it. So thank you for sharing that.
Okay, right, bye.
Bye. Hey guys.
Hey,
Hi.
hey. Mine is
You're
very.
me.
Hi, Christ. Mine is very short, kind of silly, but I thought I would fill in some space here for you.
Sure.
I was about, I guess we were about 15, 16 years old, and my best friend and I, we used to hang around at the ski lodge, and we were in her old beat up car and little old Mustang, and we were driving away from the ski lodge. I'm using my hands like you can actually see me. So away from the ski lodge. And we had stopped because her car, the power in her car, you know how like an alternator, like in the old days, the alternator would go and then the lights will dim and then the power
I
of the
know what
car
you're
goes.
talking about down
Yes,
there.
Yeah, well,
yes.
that happened. So we stalled out at the side of the road. We got out of the car. We thought we didn't have cell phones back then. So we
Right.
got out of the car. We were over by a big boy. So we thought, well, we'd have to walk to the big boy. But as we stood outside the car that had just lost power, we turned around and over across where you could see over above the ski lodge, we saw a light. And at first we thought it was just an airplane. But what we saw was that it wasn't going in a straight line. It was going and it was tilting. And every time it would tilt, we would see like a reflection of the body of it. And then it would
Right.
straighten out and then it would just be lights again. And we kept seeing that hovering and then changing direction. We thought, well, that doesn't make sense because we're not moving. Sometimes you get that dislocation of the vehicle. If you're moving and something else is moving, it looks like it's going in different directions. But we were standing still outside the car that had just lost power for no reason. And we stood there and watched for a while. And I remember the emotion. I remember feeling a little silly because I was terrified. And I thought that was really silly because I used to read Stephen King books. Like, why am I scared of this light? It could just be the ski lodge lights. And we were really, really scared. It disappeared. It just was gone. It wasn't there anymore. We got back in the car crying because we were scared. And we sat there for a little bit. She started the car. The car started, and we went home. And
Wow.
we don't know what made that car die, but it was just at that specific time.
That's
Uh,
interesting. I hear
it
that
was
a
a little
lot.
creepy.
I
Yeah.
hear that a lot, Sharma. Like I always hear it's almost like it stops the electricity in cars, like it kills the battery or something. I've heard a lot of those stories where the car will just stop. Do you know what I mean? Like it won't
Yeah.
work.
We
So
weren't
that yeah.
Yeah, we weren't near anything else where we could tell that it was maybe power all around us because that didn't happen. So we couldn't understand why, because we started trying to think logically. We couldn't understand why just us, why not the big boy? Big boy's lit up, why not that? So that was a little strange. We went home, told our parents. My mom and dad said we were nuts. We're still crying, trying to explain this thing, and they're laughing at us, probably thinking we were smoking
It's
something.
frustrating, yeah.
And we did hear on the news the next day that there were multiple reports, and the police station
Wow.
was bombarded with reports that night.
Wow.
So
It's
that's my
so cool when you
story.
realize you're not the only one who saw it. Like it's like yes,
Yep.
you know? That's
Yeah.
cool.
Pretty,
Yeah.
pretty creepy. That's it.
Yeah, thanks
Uh,
for sharing that. I love these stories and it's always a lot of them are the same. Like the car stops working and some people have
Yeah.
missing time and stuff like that too, which I find really interesting.
Yeah. So I'll dip out, let somebody else come
All
in.
right, sure. Thanks for calling.
Bye.
Bye. Hey
Bye, sure,
Crisis.
man. Hey, AZ.
How's it going?
So this didn't happen to me. It was somebody I knew that had an alien encounter.
An alien encounter.
And
Oh boy. Okay.
yeah, this was like my freshman year in college, and he wasn't from Philly, but anyway, he was a good guy. And anytime we had to go like in the historical part of downtown Philadelphia, it would be this one building that would just make him freak out. And I never really understood why.
Mm-hmm.
And he just seemed normal. But anytime you mention like Old City, which is that area, he would freak out. So I didn't pay any attention to it. Anyway, he decided he wanted to get married because he knocked this woman up. And then when he found out he had a boy, he decided, I got to face my fears. I got to go in that building. I'm like, no, you don't. But he insisted that he did. And I mean, it was a big thing too. Like, he had a party. Like he was going to, just deal with it. And I didn't go to his party. I should have because he never came back.
He never came back?
Nope.
What do you think happened?
Oh, he got deported back to Turkey.
Oh, wow. So that one
That's my
area
alien
used to freak
story.
him out? Wow.
Yeah, it was the INS building where he was supposed to like apply for citizenship. What happened was when he went in there, they found out he had been here illegally for like 3 years, and they
Freaking
were like, "Nope."
Christ. You're such a jerk. I'm like waiting for the story. I'm like, okay, so he was like scared of this bill. You're a freaking jerk.
He's an
It
illegal
took me a
alien.
minute. Did you see how long that took me to like grasp? I'm like, all right, so where did he go? Like, where's the alien? Oh, ha ha ha, illegal alien. You're too funny. I really like that you just did that. You are hilarious. I kept waiting for the kicker. I'm like, okay, so what happened? Oh my god. Did anybody get? Was I the only one like way behind on that, or no? Judging from the chat, you got a couple people. Of course, leave it to you, Christ, to come shake things up, huh? You are something else. Okay, well, thank you
Hey,
for
look, I
sharing
tell
your
you what,
story.
my favorite alien movie is Paul. So
What is it?
Paul.
Oh my god. Christ, you are just a piece of work, man.
Bye, Hazy. Love you.
Bye, Christ. Love you too. Freaking dude. Hi, Erica.
Hey, what's up?
Nothing much. How are you?
I'm good. I thought he was talking about a portal.
Me too. Like he was gone. Like I'm like he was gone. Oh my god. Too
And
funny,
then he
right? Like
said turkey, and I'm like, oh God, okay. All right
did you
then.
get it around the same time I did, or was I behind on that?
Right when he said deported, I got it.
Okay.
I was like,
Thank
really? Come on.
I'm so glad that I wasn't like, I was like, okay, so what is the point? Like, I was like sitting here, like, what do I even say to that? Then I'm like, oh. Anyways, he's so
Oh,
serious when he talks that, like, you think he's being serious. I had no idea. Anyways, Erica,
I
have
was
you
on the edge of
experienced
my
anything?
seat, man. I thought he was going into a portal or something. I'm like, we're about
Me
to hear about a black
too.
hole. No. But my story is just really like a short story. It's like 2 minutes. But when I was
Sure.
like younger growing up, we grew up in an older house, and I swear I don't know if it was a dream, like a lucid dream or what, but I know one night I thought I saw like these two shadows like looking at me and watching over me, and I woke up and like looked to like the left of me and just rolled over and saw that.
Mm-hmm.
So you can imagine how freaked out I was as a little kid.
Two
And
shadows, you said?
yeah, it was like two of them, and they were like looking at me, kind of just watching over me. And I don't like to this day, I don't know what they were. And I've been researching all about
Shadow
shadow
people?
beings. Yeah, basically trying to figure out like if that could have been a real thing or like what that was that I saw.
I
But
know.
I
You
don't
you
know.
always think about it too. Like when you get bored at night and you can't sleep, you're like Googling it. That's what I do anyways. Like shadow
Yeah,
people,
I'm like
if it's a shadow
confused.
person, shadow people are really like dark entities usually. Like that's really creepy.
And why were they watching me when I was a little kid too? Like that, is that bad, good? I mean, I was just a baby. I was probably like 2 or 3 when this happened, and it freaked me out. I started screaming, woke my parents up. I don't know if it was a bad dream, or to this day, like I don't know if I really got visited by like shadows, but I want to know what these shadow people are.
Yeah. Were they
I'm
little?
freaked out.
Usually shadow people like are smaller. From what I've read anyways. Who knows? They could probably be all sizes, but the ones I've read, they're like smaller than the average person, shadow people. But that's crazy. You were that little and you remember it. Like you don't forget stuff like that. It stays with you, right?
I never saw anything like that again as an adult or ever again. It was just the weirdest thing, and I still remember it to this day. Like, 20-something years later, and I'm like, what was that? Like, it's just weird.
Yeah, 2 of them too, not just 1, 2. That's a little bit
Yeah,
more
they look like they
terrifying.
were friends or something, like Leon and his girlfriend almost.
Leon and his girlfriend keep popping up on the screen, but they don't stay long. I don't
Maybe that
really
was
know.
them. I don't know.
Maybe it could have been. You never
Oh,
know.
man. But that's all I wanted to say. It's just real quick. I'll let somebody else get in.
No, that's cool. I mean, hey, that's something that stays with you forever. And like I said earlier, like no matter how small your story is or how insignificant, whatever, like I'm down to hear it all. So that's really cool. Thank you for
I just
calling
want
and
to
sharing.
know if anybody's seen any lizard people. That's what I want to know.
Oh,
Where are they?
reptilians?
Yeah, because they seem to say on Ancient Aliens that they're hiding in caves, but I thought they could shapeshift and even like do other things. So I thought they were closer to us or living amongst us, perhaps.
Yeah, Mark Zuckerberg, he's definitely suspect if you ask me.
I mean, look at those eyes, man.
He's definitely suspect. Kim
He a
in Darkness, thank
chameleon.
you for becoming a member. Before I forget, thank you, Kim. Erica, you're welcome to stay while Julie shares a story if you want. There is another Julie here. It's not the Julie with the flashlight, a different Julie. Hi, Julie. Oh, I gotta take her off speaker. Hold on. Hi, Julie.
Hi, AZ. How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm good.
Good.
So I don't have a UFO story, but I do have a ghost story.
All right, cool. I'm gonna mute myself because the wind's blowing and I don't want to mess up my sound. So go for it. I'm down to hear it.
Okay, so my husband works with the vast majority of people are military. And he had a friend, a really good friend, who went to war, and well, he didn't come back. But it was so bizarre because my husband was working nights at the time, and he called me and he said, we just got word that my friend was injured and it doesn't look good. So I was like, okay, all right, call me back when you get more information. So he it went by, and you know how you have your nighttime routine and whatever. And I, got into bed and I turned the light off and I could feel someone looking at me. And it was just bizarre. And I had kids, young kids at the time. This was in 2010. So my kids were really young. And I thought it was one of them. So I turned around and it wasn't. It was his friend standing there like a legit person, like he was legit standing in my room. And he had his helmet in his hand. And he was in full military gear, the whole thing, but his helmet was in his hand. And that was odd for him because his thing was, you don't even take your helmet off in the shower. So it was really kind of weird to see him like that. Because, I was close with his mom and stuff. So, I would see him in pictures and stuff. And he always had his helmet on. And his wife's Facebook and stuff always had his helmet on. So my phone rang a little bit later, maybe a few minutes later. And it was my husband. And he's like, I got bad news. He passed away. And I was like, yeah, I know. And he was like, how do you know? And I told him, and he was like, oh my gosh. And at that point, he hadn't told me where he was injured, and it was a head injury. He was playing football with like the rest of his group, platoon, whatever. I'm a military mom, but that's about it. And some of the kids over there and had taken off his helmet because, it's like 110 over there in the day. And yeah, they came under fire and he got caught without his helmet on and he died. And it was so bizarre because I've always thought that not like I'm a seer or anything, but I always thought that, out of the corner of my eye, I could catch like, just where I drove. And I'm not too far from you, AZ, but like where I drove, I would catch out of the corner of my eye, like people in, I would say like Civil War era kind of clothes. And, you're driving at night.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Yep. So I don't know. I always thought that I could see things. Not, I never really said anything because, a long time in EMS, PTSD gets to you, and that's, you know, sometimes that's what happens. So you didn't say anything, and I didn't say anything. And that, from then on, only once did I ever experience anything. And it was in my closet, and it was a black figure, all black, except for a flannel shirt, and that I could see. And it rushed out of the closet at me and scared the hell out of me, if I'm really going to be serious with you. And it was the next day we found out that another guy from the same place was killed on his motorcycle, and he always wore flannel shirts.
The flannel shirt thing is really something, because I'm sorry, that woman just hung up, but I could hear her. I just had her on mute, and I actually had myself on mute too, so the wind wouldn't blow up. You can call back. I'm sorry, I had you on mute for the next conversation. You didn't have to hang up. But Julie, so what I wanted to ask you, right, when you saw your husband's friend, right, in the room, like, were you like in sheer terror? Like, what was that like? Where were you when you saw him? Like, what did you feel like? Was he looking at you?
Well, I was in bed, and he was standing sort of at like I would say like between the end of my bed and my door, so not too far from me. Um, but I didn't feel anything except for, oh my gosh, you're dead.
You just
Like,
knew.
yeah, I don't know, like, at that point I had very little information to go on, very little.
Right.
Didn't
You
know
just
if,
knew that you knew he might be passed at that point, but you didn't know for sure.
yeah, and he didn't technically pass until they got him back to the States. If
Wow.
there, I guess if there's a head injury in the military and they can, if the person's an organ donor, they will give the organs to first military, and then,
Oh.
obviously down the line. So if any military is waiting for, like, let's say a kidney or whatever, they'll, and they're a match, obviously it has to be matched, but like if they're a match, they'll give them to them first.
Oh, okay.
So his mother was very, adamant that if there's anything he could give, give, because that's the type of guy he was. He would give you everything.
I mean,
Um,
yeah, he was a soldier, so I bet.
yeah, and he didn't even have to go back. This was his third trip
Wow.
over, and he wanted to go back. And his mom and his wife was like, look, this is not, you don't go back. And he was like, no, I have to,
Yeah.
it's the kids, you
Never
don't
go back.
understand. Yeah, like, you don't understand, it's
Scary
not,
movie.
yeah, it's not the war, it's not fighting, it's not the adrenaline, it's none of that, it's the kids, you know
Oh.
and that was the thing for him. And I just didn't feel afraid. And throughout my whole life, there's been times, and I tell my mom, and she's like, some people are just sensitive, whatever. And I just, it was just bizarre. And I could be like, well, okay, maybe, but like, no helmet, and he died of a head injury, and they called it killed in
Yeah.
action because, I mean, he was brain dead by the time he even left. But um
How
you
long
know
did you see him for? Like, how long was he there? Like seconds or?
I don't really know, like, I can't say, but I would say at least 30 seconds.
Wow.
And he just stood there. It wasn't like he said anything. It wasn't like he did anything. He just stood there with his helmet in his hand, looking like himself.
How
And
close were you with him? Were you like really close with him or?
I, so my husband was pretty much like best friends with him. I obviously spent time with him because of my husband, but like, when I first met the people that my husband worked with, he was the first one to, because I felt a little uncomfortable, and, because I'm uncomfortable in crowds and stuff. But, he came over and he was just kind of like, hey, let's chat. And it's like, okay, cool. And we just started talking about like kids and, life. And he was the first one to really extend a hand to me. And I personally took the very last photo of him. And it's
Oh
so
wow.
bizarre. Yeah, it's bizarre because in that picture, if you look at it, I mean, there have been a couple of, self, you know, I'm trying not to get you demonetized and stuff, but, um, you know,
You can say whatever. I'm not trying to it's fine.
well, I mean, there was a few suicides from people in the picture, plus him, um, and a few other people in that same picture have died in other like very tragic ways, like the one on the motorcycle with the flannel shirt. So it was just the weirdest thing, and my husband to this day is like, yeah, okay, you must have been half sleeping, but I really wasn't. Like I had literally just turned off the light, and
Right.
I don't fall asleep like that. I don't even sleep at night at all, really. And
Me either.
now, I mean, now he's home with me at night, so it's a little bit easier. But my husband, but it's just bizarre. And my daughter now, even my daughter's 23 now, but when she was like 2 years old, she came out of her room and said, she was taking a nap. She came out of her room and she said that the nice lady was in her room. And
Oh my god.
I'm like, oh my gosh, and I'm like, dad, 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 thinking, because I was at my parents at the time. My parents had a room for her. And, thinking somebody's in the house, like, dad, you need to go figure this out. And there was nothing. And to this day, my daughter will every once in a while go, Mom, I saw the lady again. And I asked her, I'm like, well, how do you know? And she's like, because she's wearing the same clothes.
What?
Yeah. And we don't, and she's never wavered from her description of the clothes, the lady, never. And we don't have, like, I didn't even know my own grandparents. So, it's not like we can say, oh, it's a grandparent who looked like this or whatever. And we don't have photos either. So it's not like
Right,
I can
right.
show her and be like, here, is this who you saw? Is that who you saw? But they just seem to stand there and watch. But the only one that I've ever seen that scared me was the one that literally came at me out of the closet. And that scared the hell out of me. And that was scary. And even
Yeah.
now, I'm like, I tell my husband all the time, I'm like, you need to make sure all the closet doors are shut before I'll even go in the room. So, I mean, it sounds kind of silly, but it's just been like over my life. It's been kind of weird, and it's just one of those things that you don't really tell everybody because not
I
everybody
know.
believes, you
I
know.
know.
And
I know exactly what you mean.
it's so weird though, right? It's like people just don't get it that there could be, and nobody
They
knows,
don't want to
like,
get it.
yeah, and nobody knows what there is out there because let's be honest, nobody has ever come back. I mean, like that, to say
Right.
this
We
is
don't
what
know for
there
sure,
is.
right?
Yeah, we don't know. We
I
don't
know.
know if
That's
there's
the problem.
UFOs.
I know.
Yeah,
I
and
know.
we don't know if there's UFOs. We don't know if there's ghosts. We don't know. I mean, everybody has seen the ghost show, paranormal, whatever, where they're like, "Did you
Mhm.
hear that? Did you see that?" And you're going, "No, rewind, pause," because you want to see it, but you don't. And
Yeah, we
I
we
have
want to
just
think that there's something else after this.
Yeah, well, I live in Connecticut, so not too far from you. I don't care if anybody
Mhm.
knows whatever. Um, and we have the Norwich State Hospital, which is supposed to be one of the most haunted places. And they've actually done TV shows and the whole thing on it. And it's just weird because that happens to be the road that I was driving down when I would like see something, you know? And work ordered psychiatry because
Yeah. There's even a
EMS.
road where I live.
Yeah, it's one road
When
though,
you said
right?
plaid shirt, that when you said
It's
plaid shirt, right? There
Yeah.
is a well-known tale around here, anyways. It is a main road too. I wish I could remember what the main road was, but there is a plaid shirt story, and a lot of people say that when they're on this road, they see like a dude in a plaid shirt. I've heard this story is like well known around here, so I wonder if it's like a main road, you know, that that you've had too, that you know, that I don't know, it makes me wonder, right? But it is frustrating. Like you try to tell your husband like you saw his friend, and he's probably like, yeah, sure, you know, like, and it's frustrating because you just wanted somebody to believe you, like yeah, you know what I'm saying? It's hard. Like even when I've told my UFO story or my green skeleton story, people are like, sure, but like you just know. You don't have to go, well, maybe it wasn't that, maybe it was this. Like you no, you just know. You know for sure, you know? So that's really
I
interesting. And
definitely knew. And it was just, you know, the more that I have told my husband, the more he's like, well, maybe, because nobody, like, not even his mom knew when I
Can you
knew.
hear me?
Yeah.
yep, I can hear you.
I can't hear you.
Do you have YouTube open?
I had to close
If
my
you
YouTube to be able to
Yeah, you
come
have to,
on.
this is
So
something I told, and I was thinking it.
Yeah, I
If
can't
you
hear
have
you.
YouTube,
You can hear me. I've tried without headphones. I've tried putting headphones in, and neither of them are working.
Julie said the same thing. The first Julie, when the first Julie called, she said the same thing. Maybe try to leave the studio. It says like leave the stream and come back in again and see if you want, or you could just tell you can't hear me anyway. So why am I talking?
maybe give her just a thumbs up, because I mean I can hear her plain as
Okay,
day.
so let
But
me
yeah,
think. I know if she
I'll
could just tell her
go.
story. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'll
Yeah.
go. You know, this is awesome. We should totally do this more often.
Yeah, this is wicked fun. I love it. Thank you so much, Julie, for calling in. I appreciate you sharing your story.
Yeah, have a good one, guys.
You too. Thank you. Alice? Hi, Alice. I just typed it in the chat because I know she can't hear me, but I hear her. I don't know why StreamYard does this, man. Just typed it in the chat because I know she can't hear me, but I hear her.
Right, I've got YouTube open. YouTube is open on my
Close
laptop,
YouTube.
so I can.
Oh, you gotta turn it down.
I've got YouTube open. Yeah, YouTube's open on my laptop, but it's like behind.
Don't open YouTube.
So
No,
it
no, no. Don't
echoes.
open YouTube.
I've got YouTube open. Yeah, YouTube's open on my laptop.
Alright, I gotta mute her for a second, guys. Don't open YouTube. If you call in, right, don't leave YouTube open. That's the only thing, right? She has to close YouTube. I'm like sign language. Close YouTube.
Like, you can hear me, I just... Hang on.
I can hear you.
Right, okay. So, if I tell my story here and, like, I can't hear anything you say in return, so I'll just tell it and then disappear, because it's, like, nearly 2 o'clock in the morning here, so I'm, like, exhausted and tired and in pain, and I really should be in bed. So, first of all is UFO sightings. I was at a friend's house. He passed away 2 years ago, sadly, so he's not here to corroborate my story. But I was there with his family at the time, and I saw something, and it literally, like, it was too fast to be anything normal, and it looked like a metal sphere. That's all I can describe it, like a ball the size of a football that looked like completely made out of metal, just shot past. And I live on the coast in South Wales, and I doubt there's anyone from South Wales in the chat because we should be in bed. But from my area of South Wales, there's 2 islands in the sea between England and Wales, and one's called Flatholme because it's flat with a lighthouse, and one's called Steepholme because it's like a giant mountain in the sea. So they're called Flatholme and Steepholme. And I saw that, and then I went to get him because I was like, this is really weird. Like, what have I just seen? And by the time I've gone and got him, and he's come with his son and come back, or his stepson, but son, there's like lots of them just floating over the top of the island. And literally, like, he went and got his wife then as well, and we all went upstairs because he's got binoculars, and there's all these like globes just floating over the island, just like floating there, doing nothing, and we're all just like, what are they? And as quick as they appeared, they just disappeared. And by the time like we'd gone out of the room and come back in again, they were all gone. And we went back and tried to tell people like what's happened, and they're like, oh no, it's just lanterns, people like lanterns and let them off. And it's like, well, for one, you need to like have special permission to go over to that island because it's protected because of the wildlife. You can't just go. There are boat trips that go out there in the summer, but even if you have a boat, you can't just go and moor up and travel there. You have to have permission from like the Coast Guard and stuff. So that puts like anything normal out because nothing would just get there that fast. And even if it were, we would know because people in the area know what's traveling out there and what's traveling back generally because of the tides and stuff as well. So that's that. And then my flat is particularly haunted. I know people who know more stuff about it than me, so we've actually like been able to communicate with whatever's in the flat. Now, most spirits don't cause you or mean you any harm. It's very, very rare for them to be harmful. So fiddling with the lights is a big thing. Like I've got fairy lights wrapped around a mirror in my living room, and they won't be on like the flashy settings, but it has like 5 different settings, and it'll just change settings randomly. And you can just say, can you stop that please? And it'll just stop, and it'll go straight back to just plain lights the minute you say stop. And the next one is when I have Christmas cards or birthday cards, I tend to like stick them on the wall. So I had about 5 of them stuck on the wall, and they were moving, but they're not near any windows. All the windows were closed because, you know, UK weather is shit, but at Christmas it's really shit because it's the middle of winter, it's freezing cold. So I wouldn't have windows open. I've got a chronic illness anyway, which makes me vulnerable to cold, so I definitely don't keep windows open. And they're just like moving, and they're not moving in a way that would be the wind either. Like it would be one in the corner would move on its own, and then another one would move on its own. So if it were any sort of breeze, they'd all sort of follow the same pattern, but no, just one or two would move at the same time and then stop. And then I was on Skype with my friend, so I reversed the camera, and they're like, can you move this card? And that card would move, and then say, okay, stop, can you move that card? And that card would stop when they said stop, and they were like, okay, thank you. And it's just like, now we've just got, I don't know, like the kitchen light is a particular one. I've always said, like, you know, I don't care what you do, just leave the pets alone. I've got rats and chinchillas, and they're fairly happy animals as far as I can see anyway. Spoiled but happy.
Good.
But yeah, like random things will happen, and if you say stop, it'll stop, and if you ask it to do that again, it'll do it again, and whatever it is, just listens, I guess, which, yeah.
So
it's
it's
a bit
messing with your
crazy,
Christmas cards,
but
huh?
you sort of, yeah, you get used to weird happenings in my house. My friend does things with pendulums and stuff, but obviously with COVID, she's not been able to come out for quite a while, and she's only just started to drive, so she's hoping to come down at some point and see if we can figure out what or who or whatever this is. But I'm not really scared. It's just weird things happen at weird times, and that's just
let us know what you find
what
when you
happens
re-listen
in the
to this.
flat. Like,
wow.
As far as I know, I don't know if anyone's died here. I know the person here before me lived here for years and years, and she was old, and the neighbours don't know who was here before her. But I suppose, like, in the UK, a lot of places are very, very old. Like, this has been here since the 60s, and it's built on woodland, so anything could really be possible. And the final thing was, like, I took a video on my phone, and I was video recording the TV, and there was this weird, like, tiny speck of light, and it wasn't like a glitch or an orb or anything like that. The way it was moving, because orbs just kind of go like this across your screen, and this is kind of all over the place. And I took a video of that and sent it to my friend. I'm like, do you know what that is? and she sent it to another friend who's a paranormal investigator, and she said it's one of two things. It's either a spirit that's about to die, or it's some kind of woodland creature spirit. And I was like, well, this is something I've seen out of the corner of my eye lots of times. I've just never been able to get it on camera. So I was like, it's most likely something that's come from the woods, because this is all woods back here. But obviously, like, I know that most spirits aren't out to harm people anyway. There's very few of them are, so you just share your space with them. As long as they're respectful to you, you're respectful to them, and that's that.
I know, that's all you can do.
Right, I'm gonna go because I can't hear anything.
Bye.
And if I continue back on YouTube, then I'll be able to hear your responses properly.
Thanks,
that
Alice.
way.
Thank you for sharing.
Bye.
I wish we could talk. Bye. Hi, Noelle.
Hi.
Oh, thank you for waiting. Hello. Poor girl.
Hi.
I wanted to ask her questions, but I couldn't ask her any questions, so I was just like, bye. But hey, Noelle, thanks for calling in. You got a story?
I do, but I think it's not going to be like a very popular opinion. I think that, like everyone says, there are these good spirits, and if you leave them alone, they're going to leave you alone. Don't agree at all.
Oh, you don't agree? Tell us
No.
why.
No, my mom always said, and I think she was right, don't open the door, because all the good spirits, all the good things, they're in heaven. They're not still here.
Noelle,
And
my
so-
mom says the same thing, really.
Yeah. And so she's always protected my spirit that way. But I had a night where I was in college and I had moved home, and I don't know if I was in a bad headspace, but I woke up and there was a figure standing over me with a mic stand. He was and this is silly, but he was a black hooded figure, and he had a mic stand, and he was about to smash me over the head with it. I pushed him aside. I kicked the wall on accident. My toes split open. I ran into my mom's room. I was like, Mom, this bad thing happened. I was looking at my mom's face, and it morphed into a demon. And I'm like,
What?
I will never.
A mic stand?
Oh, no, I'm serious. I will never open the door to anything like that, because it's so dangerous. It's
It is.
literally so dangerous. And I always
Did you guys hear that explosion that just went off? Gee, sorry about that.
Oh, that's okay.
That's crazy.
And I always wonder, she always said, okay, Noelle, don't ever play that game light as a feather, stiff as a board. Just don't, because you're going to invite this kind of thing in. So that's the second part of the story. So when I was younger, we were at a slumber party, and you know how you do these things when you're little. So I was the person that died. So, you lay down and you put your head on someone's lap, and they tell a story, and in the story you die, and then everyone puts 2 fingers under your body, and they lift you up, and they say light as a feather, stiff as a board. But the problem is that I actually rose with like little girl's fingers underneath me. And I think, oh my gosh, is that why did I open the door? Is that why this has happened to me? So I pray every night. I'm like, okay, Lord, I'm so sorry.
Oh my God. So hold up. You did what we all do at slumber parties when we were younger, right? I don't know if this is still a thing, but I'm 37. I keep saying I'm 36, but I'm 37 because I clearly forgot how old I was. But anyways, when I was younger, that was the thing. We all did that, right? Like we would do light as a feather, stiff as a board. Now your story was a little different because I don't remember having to tell a story about how you died before you do it.
You don't tell the story. Your head's, well, so I'm 49. So we may have done it a little bit differently back then, but you put your head in someone's lap, and then they tell a story about how you die. So
okay. So they make one up.
Yeah. So they make one up about how you die, and then you're dead, and then they sort of raise you from the dead. That's the whole idea.
Oh, okay. That makes sense. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
I don't remember that part, but in thinking the way you're telling it, that makes sense.
Yeah.
But you think you opened some kind of like portal, and that's the thing. My mom always told me that, like when I tried to buy a Ouija board with my birthday money one time, she wouldn't let me bring it in the house. She was like, "You're not bringing that in here." She had me return it. Like she was like, "You don't want to open those doors. You just don't."
She's a smart lady, and I mean, The thing is, I'm a Christian, so I think that I have a different perspective, and I know that I'm protected. But there are those moments when I think you get attacked, and you have to go back and ask for that protection. And I think that I really don't think that there are any good spirits walking around here on earth. I really
I know.
don't. And I know that's a super unpopular opinion. I can just
It
imagine what the
is.
comments are like right now. But
No, lots of people do
yeah,
say that, right?
yeah.
But Jennifer F had one that helped her with the laundry. It used to switch them in the dryer. So hey, yeah,
Wow.
I mean, you never know.
Well,
But
that
for the
could be a
most
good,
part,
yeah, that could be a good thing. And then I have one last thing to say. So,
sure,
in between, um, so I live in Arizona, and so in between um, Tucson and Phoenix, it's a long stretch. It's about 100 miles, and apparently, and I'm not sure if this is actually true, but there's a rumor that there's like a CIA training facility out in the middle of the desert. And so I was driving between Tucson and Phoenix, and up in the
definitely heard
sky.
those stories. Yes,
Okay, so up in the sky on the north side of the highway, there is this huge red, I mean, I would say 4 times the size of the sun, but it has like jagged lines running through it. I mean, it was not the sun, it was not the moon. It was gigantic. And I'm like, I wonder if something was going on out in the desert, because no one ever no in my experience, no one has ever said like, well, I don't know. I think it's just very possible that there are aliens and that we're attracting them to the CIA base in the middle
yo,
of the desert. Weird stuff
and
goes on in that desert.
Bob Lazar, right? You know who Bob Lazar is? He's the guy who worked for the CIA undercover. Like they had him trying to figure out this thing, this unidentified flying object they had stored, and
Hmm.
it defied all gravity, right? It was like an anti gravity whatever. So he tells the story like that. There was stuff out there, and I think it might be Arizona. I don't
Was it
even know,
Arizona?
but I might be. I don't even know, but now I'm wondering. And he took people out there. He wasn't supposed to tell anybody like about
Hmm.
this location, and he did. And he took his like girlfriend or his friends out there at the time and showed them so they could see it. And he did this like secretly, and the CIA knew he did it. Like his story's nuts. If there's anyone in the chat that hasn't heard about Bob Lazar, he has a great podcast he did with Joe Rogan, and it's really eye opening, right? So there was Area 51, yep. And is Area 51 in Arizona? I think it is, isn't it?
No, that's
No?
in New Mexico, but it's like,
Okay.
I think that there's a very, this sounds so silly, but I think there's like a super secret CIA thing going on in the middle of the desert, because we have so many hundreds of miles with nothing. There's nothing out there. I mean, there's even this city, it's called Slab City,
Right.
where, there's no government out there at all. So it's, people always talk about the Wild West. There's
Nevada, yeah,
actually
sorry.
literal Wild West still in the middle of Arizona. But anyway, that's my whole story.
Yeah, Nevada. I'm sorry. Someone said it in Nevada.
Oh, Nevada. I'm sorry, Nevada. Oh wait, no, I
Yeah,
thought it
I
was New Mexico. I don't know,
I
whatever.
don't even know. This desert, you think desert and you think of all those places, but apparently Nevada has like an extraterrestrial like highway or something. But I firmly believe the government knows more than what they share with us, and I think that, in my opinion, this is just my take on it. I think that UFO sightings are meant to prepare us for the inevitable. And when I say that, I mean I firmly believe that our universe is huge and vast and never ending. And if I believe that, then I have to believe that there's other life forms. I mean, it only makes
Exactly.
sense.
Like,
It
how
only
could you
makes sense.
even, yeah, and how could you think any less? Like, I know that, I mean, how could there not be other life forms out there? And I always wonder, like, if the end of the world, again, this goes back to, my Christianity. Bible never said that there weren't aliens. There was no
Right,
mention of there being none, being some, and not being some. So, in my
right.
personal opinion, most likely there are some. And I always wonder if the end of the world is going to be when they come to destroy the planet.
I think that they're way more advanced than we are, and they don't want to mess with our free will. Like, I don't know if anyone in the chat has ever heard of the law of one readings. It's like a channeling, and they basically, this woman gets a channeling, and I know it sounds absolutely bananas and stuff, but this, what these higher beings told her to say, makes more sense to me than what I was taught at CCD and in church and things like that. And I know I'm probably gonna get dragged for saying that, but it makes so much sense. Like, the way that they put it briefly, to not go too deep into it, they were like, look, there's advanced beings out there who are way more intelligent than we are, and what they're doing is basically preparing us for the inevitable, like when they come here, but they don't want to just show up, right? So they're kind of like sending in like, oh, look, there's a UFO. Because remember when COVID first hit, the government actually released a bunch of information like, yeah, there is stuff in the sky, and yeah, we don't know what it is, and it doesn't make any sense. Like, they told us that. They released all the documents, but COVID was happening, so everybody kind of like didn't notice, and that's a huge, huge deal. You love the law of one
And
plutarific? Oh my god, I'm so glad someone knows what I'm talking about.
and I mean,
They even, so listen,
anyone who thinks the government's actually going to tell us what's going on,
I know.
I mean, come on.
Hell
There's
no.
got to be a ton of stuff. There's got to be so much stuff we don't know.
Right, right, and even in ancient aliens and in caves, and they have drawn flying saucers. They have drawn otherworldly beings like way, way, way before us. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, almost like they saw it, right? And in the Lara one, they said that they came one time, and get this, people are. I love this story. This is what got me attached to Law of One, right? Um, Basically they said that the pyramids, right, the pyramids in Egypt, you know how that's still like one of the wonders of the world, nobody can really figure out for sure how the pyramids were built. They said the channeling people said that, his name's Ra, but he apparently told this lady to say this, and they recorded it. What they did was they got crystals. I love crystals, right? And you know how you can program crystals with intentions. I know this sounds bananas, guys, but you can program crystals with intentions, and they did that. And he basically told everybody, like, they manifested like the pyramids, and they manifested all these things with crystals and people, and they like taught them like to open up like parts of their brain they didn't use before and whatever. Anyways, it's really interesting, and if anyone's interested in it, I would love to do a video on it. But I totally, yeah, there's no way humans could make that, Julie. And not only that, with the pyramids, you probably know this too, Noelle, right? Like, they're lined up perfectly with our
Yeah.
moon and our solar system, like to the T. It's like impossible. They didn't have the technology to figure that out a long time ago when they made the
And you
pyramids.
even look at even look at, there's so many examples of that though. I mean, how on earth did Stonehenge happen?
I
How did
know,
that happen?
right?
There's no explanation for that. There are
Nobody
so
knows.
many things there's no explanation for, so I would not be surprised. But I'm sure there are a lot of other people who want to come on the show, so I'm going to let you go. But thanks for having me.
Yes, Noelle, thank you for calling in. I appreciate you sharing that.
Yeah, you have a good day. Bye.
You too. Thanks. Bye. I love charging. So Poolerific knows about the law of one. Really interesting stuff. Really, really interesting stuff. So fun, and I love reading about it. I love reading that channelings. I would love to do a video on it. I follow a man named Aaron Abke. His name's Aaron, last name Abke. And Aaron Abke is handsome, super handsome, ladies, and he talks about the law of one stuff. And if you're ever bored, you can't sleep, and you're looking for something to watch his channel. Hello, Wanda.
Hey, beautiful. How are you today?
Good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. Everybody was kind of encouraged me to tell a kind of a
Yeah.
really scary story. When I was back in the 1990s, my brother was a manager, or actually, he was security for it was basically an insane asylum. And what it was kind of neat. The concept was great. It was a working farm, so it had hospitals, it had schools, houses, like playgrounds, full on, like, it's bizarre, fire stations, laundromats. The laundry machines were as big as my house. Okay. And the stories are very dark that come from that place. But when my brother, being my brother, he's like, "Oh, Wanda, let's go on a tour." And I'm like, "Okay, this is abandoned. It's old. It's 30 years old. It's dangerous. And I'm thinking, okay, I'm a little bit of an empath, so I was really nervous. So first he takes me to the fire hall. A ball bounces across. Empty fire hall. There is nobody in this fire hall. My brother's standing next to me. My husband's standing. I'm looking at them like, are you guys playing me? Because really, like, where'd that ball come from? And my brother looked at me and he said, no, I'm not. So we leave that building. And he looks at me and I'm like, well, I'm gonna see laundry. That's kind of cool, right? Huge laundry. I know that might sound strange, but so we go into it. It's a massive kitchen, like hospital grade size. And we go in there and I'm looking around. I'm thinking, oh, it's just so weird. It's so quiet. It's scary. So then my brother says, oh, I want to take you to the underground hospitals. And I'm like, really? I'm like, this isn't the dentist chair house where everybody was supposed to be tortured. And he says, well, no, it's not. We'll do that last. So he takes me down into this underground hospital. And I've been in a lot of hospitals and it was silent. It was ice cold. He goes and turns on the power. It's in the basement. And I'm looking at this and I look at the nurse's desk and I can just feel the energy. It was just electric. And I actually have pictures of this where my brother says, hey, sis, just like a typical brother, come check this out. So I go, and the room is where they held the most criminally insane. There were chains on the walls. It was so graphic. I walked into that room and he's laughing at me. My brother's making fun of me, right? He thinks this is really funny. And I'm feeling suffering. And then all of a sudden, he walks out of the room and I'm standing there alone and the chains on the back of the wall start to move. I looked at my brother and I said, I am out of here. And he was turning on all the lights to kind of show me the rooms. And oh man, I was done. It was so terrifying. But a lot of people died there. A lot of very vulnerable people from the 30s, 20s, not necessarily sick, but were put into those places. So the experiences, they are all haunted. Every building is haunted. I even took, real bad of me, I'm not a thief, but I did take this giant whisker because it was so cool. I had nothing but bad luck. I finally sold that sucker in a yard sale. So be careful.
Hold on, what did you take? I thought you said a whisker. I didn't hear you.
Yeah, a giant whisker, like an egg whisker.
Oh, okay.
Huge.
I was thinking like a whisker.
No. Just the kind
Okay,
of
a
stuff
whisker. All right.
you beat eggs with. And I was like,
Yeah,
why am I taking
okay.
this? Like, I don't have a bowl big enough for this whisker. Like, what the hell? So I ended up
Yeah.
getting rid of it because I had a lot of bad luck. But
You probably took that energy with you or something.
I did. But it was quite the experience. And I I didn't see ghosts per se, but I did feel a lot of stuff. And I have pictures where there's a ghost above me in that room. I'll send them to you on Instagram. So it's pretty cool and scary. But
I want to see it. Yeah,
the
for
chat
sure.
said for me to do it, so it's for the
Yeah,
chat.
I'm glad that you told us. The chains on the wall. Are you kidding me? I would have been like,
you can see them in that picture. Like you can see because I'm standing in front of the chains and I hear them move. My brother takes that picture and then we look at it like years later and there's white masses all around me. I'm like, oh, okay, that's where it came from. So, but just a little bit of Canada information, you guys. Have a great night.
All right. So
Thanks
we got a Canada story. Thank you, Honda.
Take care, hon. Bye for now.
Thank you. You too. Bye. Hey, Pickle.
Hey, so I still kind of don't have a voice yet.
Okay, that's all right.
I got the big C, so.
Oh no.
Yeah,
Hope
I'm
you have
just
your
about
mask
over
on. Wow,
Girl,
that's scary. I thought I had it.
Vaccinated and mask, and I still got it.
That's terrifying. That started in my state. Like, there was a huge outbreak of it, and most of the people, 75% of the people who got it were vaccinated, and that's terrifying to me.
It's so scary. It's so scary.
I know. It terrifies me. It really. I talked about it on Instagram one morning. I was like, guys, please, let's not do this again. Anyways, sorry to hear that. I'm glad that you're making a recovery. Geesh.
Yeah, I'm in my 4th week, and like right now I have a voice because I haven't spoke a lot today. But the more I talk, the more I get mad at my husband. And I'm like, where? And I squeak at him, and he can't keep a straight face.
You
But
squeak. That's too
so
funny.
I love paranormal stuff. I'm a paranormal expert. Ask me anything. But I have the best UFO story you have ever heard in your life.
Ooh, okay. I love it. I want to hear it. Tell me, tell me, tell
So,
me.
um, I am I'm an old woman now. I'm almost 40. But when I was in high school, um, I was very, very straight laced and well behaved. And my friends and I did theater, and we were at an after party, and it dwindled down till there was only like 4 of us left. And they were like, hey, you guys want to smoke something? And I was like, ooh, I love cigarettes. Let's smoke a cigarette. And they were like, yeah, okay, whatever.
The wacky cigarette.
It was a wacky tobacco. So I smoked, and I was like, holy Moses. I killed some chili cheese fries in like 2 seconds flat. And then everybody's like, oh, we got to go home. And I was like, oh. So there was 2 other girls and 1 guy. And we were at the girl that lived right by our high school in a subdivision. And we all piled in the car, and I got in the front seat, and we're driving around the subdivision. We're all kind of giggling a little bit, whatever. And I look up into the sky, and I see a circle of red lights. And I'm like, holy God in heaven. Jesus himself and or the devil could appear, and I could hold it together, but I cannot fox with some aliens.
Red lights?
I
Wow.
Yes, I freaked out. I tried to open the car door, couldn't get the car door open. Everybody at this point is screaming at me, but I'm so terrified I don't hear what they're saying. I have always been a bigger girl, but you've never seen a fat girl make herself smaller. Shoved myself into the floorboard, having a heart attack. And I was like, no, crying. I was like, no, no, they're not going to get me. I can't let aliens get me. And the guy driving looks at me, and he was like, it's the water tower. It was the freaking water tower light.
What the fuck? Dude, that's so funny. So it was that the first time you had ever smoked?
Yes,
I bugged out too the first time I ever did. I remember
I
being
was
like, the police are gonna
convinced.
come get us. I was wicked paranoid, so I can relate to that. That's hilarious.
I knew I was dying. I knew I was getting pulled up
You're like, that's
into
it.
the
This is the
sky.
end.
Yeah, I knew it. I was like, screw this. I'm never smoking again, man.
I know, right? I remember thinking everybody that drove behind us was following us. Like I was sure of
Oh,
it. I was
yeah.
like, they're coming, they're gonna know, they're gonna call my parents. You know what I'm saying? Like I used to get like that too for like, I don't know, the first 6 months I ever did that when I was younger, but that's hilarious. Like it was the water tower. Do those
I
people
graduated high school like
do
20 some
those
years
people
ago, and I
still make
still
fun of
have
you?
people.
Oh
Yes,
yeah.
I
That's what I was
still
gonna
have
say.
people who are like, remember that? Because everybody knew the next day, of course.
That's hilarious. I'm
So
sure
then
you'll
I
ever
still
you'll
have
always
people.
be that girl.
Yes, they'll comment on my Facebook, and they'll be like, have you seen any UFOs lately? And I'm like, listen,
Smoking the good good.
I don't know
That's
what it was. I'm
hilarious.
telling you, it messed me up so bad. I was like, and
That's
I
too
still to
funny.
this day, I can deal with the ghost stuff. Does not phase me at all. But anytime people are like, my husband and I were talking one day, and he was like, what scares you the most? And I was like, aliens. And he was like, what? And I was like, seriously, I'll be fine no matter what happens in this world. But if aliens show up, I don't know if I'll be able to handle myself. And he was like, oh my God.
Really? So what is it? The unknown that creeps you out more? So you're more scared of an alien than an actual entity like a ghost, really?
Absolutely. Like, I don't know what it is about it. Like, because I'm a pretty logical person, although I did get scared of a water tower. But in my thinking, it's like if they are advanced enough to travel, they would have to travel light years to get here.
Mhm.
And if they're that advanced and they're coming and they're not hiding themselves, they're like, here we are, then they want something more than a pat on the back and a coney. I mean, there's something going on.
I know. It's like I don't even know. I think it's bound to happen whether it will happen in our lifetime or not. that's up for debate, but I think it's inevitable that we will eventually, be visited by aliens.
We
I don't
have
know
to.
how else to say it.
We
I
have
really
to.
think it's gonna happen.
Yeah.
You know,
They
a lot of people
absolutely.
think they're
I mean,
already
like,
among us.
yeah, I don't know if they're among us in the way that like the the reptile people think, but like it doesn't. I mean, Christians I know are very like, no, God created us and that's it. And I'm definitely like, I go to church. I'm definitely a Christian, but at the same time, I'm like, God is science. You look at everything points to that, being true. And
Hmm.
there's no way that the world exists as it does with all these different species. And then the, cosmos exists with all different kinds of, things in space. And we cannot be the only life there is. It is not plausible.
I completely agree with that. And like I said, I got raised Catholic, and I made my confirmation and all that stuff, right? But when the grand scheme of things, I still think that I still believe in God. I just think of God differently now. Like we were conditioned to. Somebody asked me a great question one time, and I'll never forget it. They said to me, if you weren't conditioned to believe in Jesus, God, Catholicism, whatever, what would you believe if nobody told you, like, hey, this is the answer, this is what you believe in? And I'm like, wow, I've
Right.
never thought about it, right? So when I really think about it, the only thing that makes sense is like there's one God, and that it might not be the God per se that we're given in the Bible, but I think that that there is a all-being creator, a creator, whatever however you
Yes.
want to call it, but creator definitely is the only thing that makes sense to me.
I'm a cradle Catholic too. So I'm right there with you on all
A
of it.
cradle
And I
Catholic.
agree. That's,
I've never
that's what
heard
it
that
is.
phrase. That's definitely a good one. Cradle
It's when you're
Catholic.
born
Yeah.
into it.
Yeah.
But
Exactly.
I absolutely agree with you. I've done a lot of research. I'm just I like to know things kind of person.
There's nothing wrong
So
with being open-minded.
yeah,
And like some people are like, like the thing that frustrates me is like, yeah, I believe that there is a God and stuff, like, but even considering a creator, like different creator, and not Jesus or God per se, it's like, dare you not, you have to like think of all aspects, right? Like just because someone shoves it down your throat doesn't mean this is the only answer. There may be other things out there that people haven't considered, and that it just makes sense to think about all of it. Um but yeah, you said that you know everything paranormal. Did you ever have any other experiences?
I mean, I've had a lot of paranormal experiences. People can think I'm crazy, and I'm fine with that because I rarely care what people think. But I'm not a psychic. I'm not, but I'm pretty open. Have been my whole life. When I was a little girl, when I would go to bed at night, an old man would come sit on the end of my bed with a dog and talk to me. And when I got
With a
older,
dog, huh?
yeah, with a dog. When I got older, my dad and I were on a road trip, and I was like, we're talking about life and all kinds of things. And I said, when I was a little girl, this used to happen. And he said, well, what did he look like? And I said, well, he looked like this, he looked like that. And I said, one thing about him that was weird is he had one blue eye and one green eye. And my dad went white. And I was like, what is your problem? And he was like, you need to call your mom and tell her about it. And I was like, oh, okay. So I called my mom and I told her. And we joke and say that like my sister and my dad are muggles. My mom and I are magic folk because we are just more in tune than they are. And I found out later that that was actually my great grandfather that died when I was like 4 months old. And he had one green
Wow.
eye. Yeah. So it was crazy. But I've had a lot of experiences like that where when my grandfather passed away, I knew the night before that he was going to. I
How
called
old are you?
him when my grandfather passed.
Yeah.
I just turned 20.
Wow, you knew, huh?
And I the night before I knew, and I called home to my grandparents' house and I said, hey, I'm gonna come home. And my grandma's like, all right, well, Papa doesn't feel good. And I said, yeah, I kind of know that. I want to come home. She said, okay. And I didn't. I was getting ready to leave, and I lived across from a frat house, and a guy was like, hey, let's watch a movie and hang out. There's a guy I had a crush on. So I went to his place, watched a movie, crashed at his place, woke up, like rushed home at like 5 a.m., got in bed, and my phone started ringing at like 6:30. And my roommate, who I had
Oh.
known like my whole life, came to my bedroom door and he knocked on my door and he's like, hey, Pickle, you need to get up. And I was like, I'm not getting up. He's like, Pickle, your dad's calling. And I was like, whatever, I don't care. And he said, baby, you need to get up. And my roommate did not call me baby for anything. And I sat up and a voice in my head said, your grandfather died. And I opened my bedroom door and I looked at my roommate and I said, did my grandpa die? And he said, how do you know? And
Oh.
I just knew.
Hmm.
I mean, and it's little stuff
You
like
was
that.
Netflix and chilling. You was Netflix and chilling too.
Yeah,
Oh
we
no.
didn't have Netflix then, so
I know.
it was
Oh
DVD and shit.
man, that stinks. I think if more of us followed our intuition and our gut instinct instead of being like, nah, maybe I'm just crazy, then a lot of these things would happen a lot more often. I feel like, you know.
Women especially, I feel like, have a very, and if you look at little kids say things sometimes that you're like, all right, creeper, because little kids can be
Mhm.
totally creepy at
Yup.
times, but I feel like they're more connected and we're conditioned out of it. Like, ignore that, don't listen to that, don't be silly, grow up,
I believe
and so
it.
people put it away.
Kind of like Peter Pan, right?
Hmm.
Just like that movie Hook,
Exactly.
for real though. Like you get conditioned to be like, no, 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 that's nonsense, you know.
Yeah.
Like my daughter one time, I've told this story before, but she had just gotten a vaccine and she's always had weird reactions to vaccine. We've had to spread them out like in huge amounts of time because of stuff. But anyways, so one night she woke up screaming, right? And I was like changing her diaper. I'll never forget it. She was barely old enough to talk and she was freaking out. I'm changing her diaper and she's like, "Mama, there's a lady. There's a lady." Right? Yo, I remember getting overwhelmed with terror. Think like
Yeah.
believing her. I turned around. I was like, "Yo, it's a lady." I didn't see no lady, but the way she was adamant, pointing and going, "Lady, lady," in the corner, up in my bedroom. Okay, up in my bedroom, lady, 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 lady. I'll never forget it. And I believe she definitely either saw something or I don't even know. But little kids, I think the more pure you are, whether you're a kid or not, like the more pure you are, whether you don't even drink caffeine, take Advil, whatever, I think you're a better antenna for stuff like that, you
Yeah,
know?
absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
like
just
when
want to
my
point out
oh, sorry.
Julie Virgo looking like she's at a campfire here. Let's
I
hear your
know.
scary story, Julie.
Are you afraid of the dark? I know.
When my dad died, I was what 3, and they had to break down the door. And when was it when I said it? And I
Hold
said
on,
to
hold
my
on, hold on,
mum,
Julie. Julie, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. When your dad passed away, he had to break down a door.
no, we had
I missed
no,
that. Can you say that again? I'm sorry.
no, we had to get somebody to break down the door because it was a heart attack. And
Oh,
I
okay.
said to my mum, "Mum, Daddy says he's sorry," like just randomly. And then at his funeral, I smelled Daddy's feet. Izzy, what's that behind you? Ah!
Shut up. She
Julie.
just out freaking Julie. Oh my god. Yeah, poor Julie. So apparently when her dad passed away, she told her mom that she saw that dad says he's sorry. Oh my god. Wow.
That is so
Um
sad.
I know. I don't know why she just dipped out like that. Julie does that sometimes. She's here, then she's gone, you know? She's her own little ghost. But Diane
She
says,
does.
my daughter is 31 years old and still remembers the woman in the corner of her room every night. She would always smile at the corner and wave. It was trippy. Wow. Whoa. Yup, my daughter, I'm telling you, I've asked her before, like recently, I've been like, do you remember that time? Because I know people remember that stuff, even when you're really little, right? Like someone earlier
Yes.
said they were 2, 3 years old. Like I believe that because my experience with the green skeleton, I was probably like 4 or 5, and I remember it like it was yesterday.
When you
So,
look at little kids who are like, they're totally normal little kids otherwise, they have friends and they may even have siblings, and then they have imaginary friends. And where does that
mhm,
come from? And
right.
sometimes those imaginary friends, it's like a purple dinosaur or whatever, but sometimes it's like my mother-in-law said when she was little, she had 3 imaginary friends. My mother-in-law was really sick when she was little, and she had these 3 imaginary friends who would come hang out with her, talk to her when she was sick. And then one day she had gotten better. She was in the car on the way home. They got home, she opened the door, and her 3 friends had been in the car with her. They got out of the car and they said, "You don't need us anymore." And they literally just floated up in the sky and she never saw them again.
What?
Yeah. And I was
Wow.
like,
You don't need
that's
us anymore? Creepy.
wild.
Ooh. That is wild. I just dropped the link again. If I planned on making this like a 2-hour stream, I have like another half hour or so. If anybody else wants to call in and tell their story, Pickle, you're more welcome to stay. You don't have to go at all. But
Sorry,
that's
hang on.
wild.
My husband's making noise over here. I love paranormal stuff. If somebody else comes on, you want to kick me, I don't care. I'm not moody like
Oh, I
that.
have room for like 12, I think, or is it 10? I think it's 10 I have room for, but it gets a little chaotic when there's when there's 10. I've done that once
Everybody
before.
talking at the same time.
I know. I'm like, whoa, whoa, whoa. But hi, Sharmar.
Hi, I thought that I remember when I emailed you the spiritual one
Yes, a while
about my
ago, that one.
grandson. Yeah. So
Yeah,
I thought I would tell that one because it's kind
yeah.
of heartwarming, I guess. Maybe it was to me, but
Yep. Tell
um
that one, please. That reminds me, I
it
have a
was
couple to read. I'm glad you said that. Thank you. Go ahead.
sure. My grandson was born under stress. He had a stroke at birth, and he was unresponsive when he was born, and so he was brought back. And life went on. We celebrate, every single milestone that he has and so forth. Well, with my dad, he always, as a baby, you know how kids just are stranger danger with different types of people. He would always cry with my dad. And right up until, well, my dad passed away about 6 years ago. And so I think right around 2 years old, Elliot he was still crying. And it wasn't a fear, it was a real sadness cry. Like if my dad held him, he'd cry, and everybody would think, like, oh, he's scared, just take him back. But he would hug on to my dad's neck and cry. So we didn't really know what to expect with that. And then fast forward, my father passed of pancreatic cancer 6 years ago, and it was very quick. Um, he was diagnosed and he was gone a week and a half later. It was very, very fast. And in the hospital, um, while my dad was still conscious, um, Elliot wasn't crying anymore. He would climb on my dad's bed. He would look around the room. Right before my dad slipped into the coma, we knew it was coming, and all our family members came to say goodbye because, I mean, it was inevitable. And all the family members came. They were kind of at the bed talking to my dad. And I was standing with my back to the door holding my grandson, who was about 2, I guess, at that time. And he had like a bag of chips with some snacks or some sort. And he was kept looking over at the bed and smiling and laughing above the bed, all above the bed, smiling, laughing, having a good time. He's holding his chips out to people, not by me, but people, someone. He's offering his chips to somebody in the room, and nobody was around him. And I just kept looking and wondering what the heck was going on. And he was the happiest around my dad I have ever seen him. And it just felt, I got that little piece that he saw something I didn't. He's already been gone and back. And it just seems like he's got that little bit of an
So,
opening.
do you think, like, because of his experience being born like that and almost, passing while he's being born, like he might like have like a better grasp of like the other side than we do because he's
Yeah.
experienced it? That's what
I
I would
think
think, anyways.
Yep, I think in a couple different ways. One, that he's just more open to that, and first of all, being a child, you're already
Yep.
open.
Right.
Also being there, so you've got a sensitivity to it. But also, he has brain damage, and I
Right.
think that those parts of the brain that most of us do not access, he has access to those.
Yeah.
He'll blow my mind sometimes with the things he does, and it feels like that might have something to do with it too. But
Right.
people can say, nah, that didn't happen. He has seizures. It was probably, no,
No,
I was there.
Yeah, he was sharing his
Yep,
chips with him. He was sharing his
yep,
chips with him. He was like, "Here you go,
and
have some."
and smiling politely while doing it.
Yeah,
He
and
Well,
saw
you said
somebody.
it's been said in a lot of circles that talk about this sort of thing that when someone is getting ready to pass and the family on earth gathers, there's also a family in heaven or in the next life, if you, whatever you want to call it, that gathers as well. to help
Mhm.
ease the transition between the two worlds.
Right, right.
Yeah,
Yeah, I hear that a lot.
I pictured family there. I pictured his mom, his dad who had passed a couple years later, my grandparents. That's what I kind of felt from what was going on.
Sloan
And
Bella talks about that a lot. People helping you transition to the other side. I hear her say that a
yeah.
lot. And, but that's interesting, Sharma. The part you said about like he might use parts of his brain that we don't use.
Mhm.
Like I highly believe in that because there are so many
Yeah.
parts of our brain that we probably don't even think about accessing or don't know how to, or that are just there. Scientists like what don't even know what they're for, you know? I mean, you can only imagine what they could be for if we were more open-minded and things like that. So it really makes you wonder, and we've talked about this before. My positive energy streams, we had a talk about how sometimes people get into accidents and then they wake up with a talent they never had before,
Mhm.
or a language they've never spoke, and like those stories are really cool. Waxy knew somebody that happened to too. So yeah, he probably is special in that sense. I believe it.
Yeah, his left brain, well, they're disconnected now because he's had two brain surgeries. So he's had the hemispherectomy. So the left brain is not even being used. So every single part of that right brain is trying to
Oh,
reactivate.
Overcompensate.
So
Yeah.
he's accessing everything there.
right. So
So,
that makes up for the other part. So he's probably using stuff he wouldn't normally use if the other side was working correctly, you know?
yep,
That's really
yep.
something to think about, really. It is.
Yeah, it is. It's
That's cool.
mind-boggling.
I
And
mean,
then
it's cool. It's
after,
cool, and I'm like, it's cool. You know, I don't mean it like, oh,
no, no.
it's all. But he's obviously probably special in different areas. Like I have a cousin who is even autistic. My cousin's son, and he talks to people too. And it's like it makes you wonder, like, okay, does he use some we don't use? You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, I mean, he wasn't speaking. He was uh, nonverbal until about 3.5, close to 4, and he just was the king of charades. He found other ways creatively to communicate,
Right.
and it still amazes me.
Yeah,
That's
he's
awesome.
he's smart in his own way. Yeah.
Yeah, his word association is insane. That
Yep.
it's just, yeah, because he's had to activate those other ways. So yeah,
And you
thank you.
said before too, real quick, you said before too, because you get to see him experience life differently, and then your
Yeah,
mom also has dementia, and you get to see her experience life differently, and you're
yeah,
somewhere in the middle, and you're like, wow. And I'm sure now more than ever, because you've seen both sides of them,
yeah.
like you're probably really like thinking about it, you know? But
It does.
um,
My mom is delusional dementia, so she is seeing things that aren't
mhm.
there. There's the paranoia, and to see her loss, just
Wow.
see her go backwards, because like today
Yeah.
she didn't know who I was. She didn't know,
Mhm.
and I will either be her mom or help be her sister, or she'll say I have to. I said we were going to go out to eat, and she said, I said, I'll come and get you and we'll spend the day together. And she goes, oh, well, I have to ask mommy and daddy for some money to do that. And I'm
Oh,
like, okie dokie. But
jeez.
she's in a much better place right now. She really is.
I'm sorry.
So,
What is that
oh,
noise? Diane, I just muted you because there was some kind of like static noise, but I don't know what it was. But I'm gonna put it back on in a second. But yeah, I mean, that's tough. Sure, that you have to see that it's like she's
Yeah, I'm
there
sorry you
but
go through
not
that,
there.
Sherry.
That's really hard to go through. It is. I've watched my great grandmother go through it as a kid. She thought there was a nun in the window one time, and like
mm-hmm.
it's rough. It's rough. It's like they're
The
there, but
more
it's not
she
really them.
loses, the better. Well, the more she loses, the better position she's in. So the
Yeah.
more memory she loses, because then she loses the anxiety because she thinks she's fine. So if she thinks
Right.
she's fine, and then she still doesn't know how she got to where she was, it was like living in
Yeah.
hell, just over
I
and over.
worked with dementia patients professionally for several years,
Them
and
three.
it's a sad, but it can be beautiful too, because if you get in the moment with them where they are, it's amazing the clarity sometimes that they can get momentarily, and it's just the kindness to them.
Mm-hmm. So I just wanted to share with that.
For sure.
So,
Thank you.
whoop, I'm going to
Like
zip
that.
out because I'm hearing that. I'm
That.
gonna zip out.
Yeah.
The wildness.
fan. I'm happy. And I don't know if it's her. I talked about this before. I worked in a. I was a phlebotomist for a little while, and I used. Can you?
You're cutting out on us, AZ.
Uh-oh. What's going on here?
There, I hear you now.
Can you guys hear me?
I got you now.
Okay, I left and came back in because everything froze up. Sorry about that.
Julie said it's the ghost trying to come on panel.
For real. Okay, so I have Diane. Diane just hung up. Hi, Missy.
Yo, AZ, what up?
Hey, what's going on, Missy? I love your picture.
I changed it just for you, just for
It's
this
so
stream.
cute. I love it. And it's right under the UFO right now. I love it. It matches up perfectly.
Beam me up.
I know, right?
I am the person you think I am. I responded to your Instagram today.
Okay. I know who you are. Remember, I was like, was that you who called in? Is that you?
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Okay.
Totally. It's
Cool.
my
Cool.
nickname. It's what I go by. So, yeah, it was me.
Thank you
AZ
for that, by the
Defender.
way.
No problem. I just wanted to share a little bit of, like, I guess it's a paranormal story, but you guys were talking about family members passing and stuff. Well,
Mhm.
I was like 19 when my mom passed, and she had non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. She had had it for a while, and she was doing really well with it. Like, she got diagnosed like 7 years before she died, and she was handling it really well, doing like lots of like healthy things for herself, and she was doing really good. And then it was like my 18th birthday, and she sent me like a card and like a little book, and it was like what a daughter means to a mother. And it's like one of those little Hallmark books, with like sayings and stuff in it. And like no check, no nothing. So I was like, ooh, what's this crap? Whatever, mom. So like I kept it in like a little box. And everywhere I moved, it went with me. But I totally forgot about it. Even after
Like a
she
memory
died,
box.
I
Yeah.
yeah, like no, but it was like not even that. Just I kept it like in a box full of stuff, like not even nice, like with a bunch of cards and whatever from um just like cards and stuff. So I went to a psychic, and I always like after she died, like I went to a psychic, and she was like doing cards, and she laid one down, and she laid another couple down, and she was like, wow, there's only two dragonflies in my deck, like they were symbols and stuff. And she was like, you've got two of them, do you see dragonflies? And I was like, I see them all the time, all the time, all the time. And she was like, that means something. And I was like, okay. And about 2 years ago, I was looking through my old stuff, and I saw the book that she gave me, and I was reading through it. And on the back page, she wrote, I know I probably won't be here much longer. Just want to let you know I love you so much, and I'll send you dragonflies. And I was like, oh my God. And I see dragonflies
Wow.
all the time. She sends them all the time to me. And all this
Wow.
time I've been seeing them, and I didn't know it was her. Like, isn't that crazy?
Wow. That is crazy. You must have like had you probably felt all the
I
blood just drain when you read
I
that. You were
was
probably like,
no, I was
that's crazy.
bawling. I was like, man,
Yeah.
I'm such
That's
a
like one of
jerk.
those
Because like when
moments
you're
where you never forget. they say dragonflies in general, like, are signs, right? I've heard that before. So you had someone get 2 of those cards in the deck for you, and you found it in the book,
Uh-oh,
and like,
AZ,
sorry
I
you lost
can't
your
hear
mom, but that's a
you.
really. Uh-oh. Can you hear me now?
Yep, I
Yeah,
got
you're
you
back
now.
Oh,
now.
okay. Yeah, I don't know what's going on all of a sudden. I'm having problems out here. Maybe everyone in the house is using the internet right now. I don't know. Maybe I'm too far away from the router or something, or maybe it's the
Maybe it's
aliens.
the
I'm not really sure.
aliens.
It might
It's the
be.
ghost aliens.
I know, the alien ghost. I know, right? I wonder. Oh, you just had me thinking. I wonder if there's alien ghosts, right? Who knows?
Where are the
Who knows?
dinosaur ghosts? I'm waiting for the caveman ghost.
I've never even contemplated that. Now I'm gonna be up all night looking up dinosaur
Ha.
ghosts. Like, that's actually a really good point,
Hey,
right? Where are they at? Hey,
AZ, I wanted to ask you, where can I look up that thing you were talking about earlier, the reason of one, or what were you saying? What is it called?
oh, the Law of One. Right? Law of One is a free website where you can read all the channelings, right? I suggest reading them instead of listening to it because the lady talks really slow, right? So if you can just search Law of One. There's a free website. There's another channel of a really handsome fella. His name's Aaron Abke, and he's my boyfriend. He just doesn't know it yet. And he talks about the Law of One too. And he is amazing. So I'll have to link that in the description after, guys, for all those of you wondering. I probably am gonna jump off here because everything I have, even my phone is not acting right, and I'm not trying to be like creepy or nothing, but I feel like I'm losing the stream here. Like now they're saying I sound like a robot. Oh boy, oh boy. Anyways, you open the door. See, here's the thing. I want to say this too before I forget real quick. There was someone in the chat earlier who was saying somebody put a spell on them or something. I don't know if you know who Caroline Ironwill is, but she knows a lot about that stuff. If you're still here, maybe hop on over to Caroline Ironwill's channel and ask her. I don't really have any answers about curses and things like that. I don't really know
Oh
much
my
about
God,
that. I do
that
know this though,
sucks.
and I'll tell this story, right? I got a pendulum, okay, last summer, and it was the reason why I bought it, it was an amethyst one, and it was beautiful, right? So I bought it as decoration. Then I got curious, right? And curiosity killed the cat. So I started using it, and I like watched YouTube videos about how to use it correctly, yada yada. The thing worked so accurately, and it creeped me out so bad that I have it hanging on my wall, and I never touched it again. Like, ever, because I was so creeped out by it, right? And they say pendulums are like an antenna, like it's your waves making it move a certain way. But I definitely want to do this again, Poolerific. This was so fun, like literally so fun, and I'm so glad that people actually called in. I was so scared nobody would call. So everybody that called, I'm like so thankful that you guys actually called, because I do have some stories that people sent me in that I was going to read in case nobody called. But we could do this again sometime really soon. No, don't go to Miss Ashy Cat. Don't go there. Don't go there. Anyways, this was really fun. Oh, Nikki, you told her that? Good. Okay. Yes, no, that was her name. Anyways, guys, I had a lot of fun. Like I said, I'm glad people called in. We'll definitely do it again soon. And I'm gonna link all the Law of One stuff that I talked about to give everybody, an idea of what the hell I'm talking about, because you probably never heard of it, but Snoop knows about. But I'm so glad you changed your picture, the picture to an alien. I noticed it as soon as you came in on the chat. I'm like, yes, we have an alien. And in case nobody noticed, right? I want to show you guys Leon's girlfriend. What should we call Leon's girlfriend? Does anybody have
Ooh,
any ideas?
Leona.
Leona, that's an option. Yup. We got Leona. She's got like fiber optic hair. It is so cool, right? So cool. But hey, Leon, what's up?
she's hot.
I didn't know you were bringing your girlfriend, Leon, but it's fine. I mean, whatever. Uh, so there's that. But yeah, someone asked me how I do this. It's just an overlay with a transparent background, literally. Like, remember this one I had that I put my it looked like a sperm. That I had this one time. So it's just that transparent background with like. Oh, it's getting windy too. But anyways, I'm gonna end this, guys. Thank you for showing up. I
Yeah,
know I
thanks
missed a
for
couple.
having us.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah, thank you,
And
AZ.
you're welcome, guys. All right, I'll talk to you guys later. Have a good night, everybody. And listen,
Bye.
if you hear a bump in the night, don't come blaming me, okay? Bye, everyone.